Okay, Jenny. So when you first looked at some of these coaching insights, you said that week 13, well, I guess not week, because we're not going to do them really by weeks. It's just going to be by topic. But you said that you could talk days about the fear of starting over. And
Right.
I wanted you to tell me first, like what you thought about the insights with those powerful questions, and maybe what if you liked the insight at all, or if you didn't like it.
Well, I like it. So I'm trying to pull up but it's being boo-boo. Okay, there we go. So week 13 was about the idea of like moving on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was like, okay, so my immediate thought, start the fear of starting over. So my immediate thought was, okay, I've done this in my life, like if I'm being honest, like 5 times at least.
Okay.
But
That's actually shooting low. I was going to say more than that for our combined experience in starting over is pretty hefty.
well, I'm not counting like my parents divorcing or
Mm.
like going back and forth between like I'm talking like in adulthood, like as a not necessarily just as like a professional, but like as an adult.
Ah,
Ugh.
got it.
um, because I was in college and then I get pregnant and then I get married and I leave and go out of the country and then I come back
Hmm.
and my husband decides to take this job on the other side of the country and so he's starting over and so then I'm
Right.
starting over. I'm not in college. So I mean like I have a ton of them, but I was like if I had to pick like the major ones, starting over after the loss of a child,
Right.
it's a whole different world.
Sure.
Um, and then my entire adult, like, for more than 17 years as an adult, I was in the law. And everyone was like, oh, you're like a duck to water. This is like your realm. This is where you belong. But I'd always wanted to be a teacher.
Right.
And so I'm moving along, being a paralegal, doing my thing. My attorney's like, go to law school. I go to law school, and then I fail by 3%. Like,
That's not bad. That can't be bad, right? It can't be bad.
it's still failing. Failing
I
is failing.
know.
Like,
I
but
know.
so like there were all these things in my life at the time, and I was so attached to this idea that I was meant to be like an attorney and take over this firm and be like the mini me version of my aunt. And um and then my dad was like, but you always wanted to be a teacher. So like why don't you just do that? And then my friend was like, yeah, you should get your master's and you should become a teacher. And it's easy. Like anybody can do it. And I was like,
Well,
it, what?
well, before you get into the teaching thing though, but it sounds like your when you were trying to go through to become a lawyer, or the law, I guess, that
Yeah.
was kind of wrapped up. That was kind of a part of your identity that was wrapped up in that moving forward or differently, right? I mean,
Oh,
it sounded like it was
absolutely.
a big part of it.
Absolutely. Like everybody knew me as that person, like even, Allie. So I, it was like for me, it was like this huge part of my identity that like I understood civil litigation and I understood the process and I understood all these things that were supposed to happen in law. And because of my emotional state at the time when I sat for my test,
Yeah.
I just like, and all of the professors were like, what happened right here on this line? Like you just stopped writing. And I was like, yeah, I was
Mm.
done. Like I was done. Like I just mentally in the test got up, went to the bathroom and was like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah. No. Okay.
So
All
then
right.
I have to, then I have to come to grips with the fact that, like 4 days later, my boss that was causing me all the problems and causing all this
Wow.
stress
Yep.
is like, it's not me and it's not you, but we're not going to work together
I might
anymore.
have said that to a person or two in my life as well. It's not me. It's not you. It's me. It's yeah.
That's not really either of us. We just don't like blend. And it
Right.
was the weirdest thing. I remember walking out and the other attorney texted me and was like, where are you? And I was like, I just got let go or broken up with. I'm not really sure.
Broken up with.
Like it was like being broken up with a guy by a guy that I had no respect for the man. I was working
That's
for a
funny.
guy that just, he was this huge voice in the Fresno community, and he'd won all these huge civil litigation cases.
Mm.
And he had the moral and ethical scruples of, like a garbage bag. And
Right.
he, like I said, he just kind of like broke up with me. And like I knew he was going to do it. Like I could
Yeah.
tell. So he
Yeah.
waited until I took my finals and then
Mm.
he did it. And then I just was like, what the hell am I going to do with my life now? And it
Yeah.
was really
Well,
funny because my dad had told my spouse at the time, like 3 weeks before this, your wife is like unraveling and drowning and you're doing absolutely nothing about it. And I
mm,
really don't want to have to step in again.
yeah.
And so I, I went through this whole like summer of like, what the hell am I going to do? And
Right.
basically everybody except for Raymond was like, well, you always wanted to be a teacher. So just do that because you
Well,
can get
but
a
did they,
job.
so they mentioned that, right? And yeah, to get back to the teaching, I mean, that's what you do now. Is that something that when they mentioned it, was it initially exciting, or were you not so
Uh,
excited about it, but it kind of spurred something in you, perhaps?
I think it was always in me. Like I always wanted, like in high school, I was like, I just want to, when I grow up, I just want to read books and I want to teach history and listen to music. And like,
Don't we all?
yeah, like, why are all of you here? Why are you
What a
talking?
perfect life. What a perfect life.
What a perfect life. And so, and even in law school, several of my friends that passed and went on, they were like, I couldn't have passed this if you hadn't taught it to me. Like, I don't understand what happened. And I was like,
Okay.
it's fine. Like, it's fine. And they're like, no, like, you taught me all of these things. And they were like, well, I guess it makes sense that you want to be a teacher. You make things like systems and structures that make sense. And so, like, at first, I'm just like, I'm doing it to survive
Okay.
because I have to be um, the breadwinner in my marriage, most of my marriage. This is a huge
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
And so I have to be the breadwinner and I have to like fully vest in this thing and hurry up and get a job and start
Right.
getting income. And um, when I'll rewind. When I decided to go back to school to get my degree for history, where I met Allie,
Yeah.
um, my husband I'd already put him through college, helped, did all the working, and made sure he did all the things he wanted to do because it was his dream to go to this college.
Okay.
And he graduated, and I was like, I need to go back and finish because I only have like a year left. And he was like, that would be very inconvenient for me. And I was like, what?
Mm.
So going to law school was inconvenient to other people in my life. It
Ah.
upended my children, it upended my already crumbling marriage.
Okay.
um, and then to fail at it,
Right.
right? And then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, now I have to start over in
Yeah.
this whole industry that I've never actually done before.
Right.
So I do that and I'm teaching and then I have to and well, and then I eventually come to the end of my marriage and I have to
Right.
start being autonomous and by myself for myself and doing all
Yeah.
those things for myself. And it's as a society, it's like one of the first things we ask people, oh, like what do you do? Instead
Oh
of
yeah. Yeah.
like like it was your favorite book this year.
Yeah.
So we really attack a lot of who we how we just how we navigate with people as to what they do, like you
Well,
know
yeah.
oh
Yeah, that's, I
oh
mean, you already hit on that. I mean, it's a big part of your identity. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, when you, within what, 5 seconds of meeting somebody new, you ask them what they do, or if it's a perfect question to break the ice with somebody if you're not really sure how to.
i
Um,
try really I try really hard not to use that question.
do you? I don't. I
Well,
use it anyway.
only, well, I mean, yeah, but I try hard not to use that question. Mainly, I'm around children all the time. But when you meet new
Right?
people in industry, you're already kind of meeting them in
Oh
industry,
yeah.
right?
Well, that makes
And
sense.
so, and And then my children, their generation, they're like, oh, I really hate when an adult asks me that question. I'm like, why? Because you're
Gotcha.
unemployed. Like,
That makes sense.
what's your job? Oh, I don't have one of those.
That makes sense to me.
Must be nice.
So,
Yeah. So I've heard from my children's generation, and then like now the kids that I'm teaching, they're like, oh yeah, that's really a rude question to ask people. And I'm like, hmm.
well, maybe times are a changing. Maybe that's a generational thing. 'Cause it's never been rude for our generation, but maybe that is something to think about moving forward. I wonder. So you've gone through a lot. We've gone through a lot of change. I wonder what when you read that coaching insight, what was something that spurred in you? What's something you thought about when you read it, or what hit your noggin?
So this opportunity for something new, right? And everybody thinks that I'm this like outgoing extrovert, and I'm like,
Oh, you're not?
no, no.
Nobody believes that.
I, I know that nobody believes it, but
Okay.
we really like my my people um would tell you that I am definitely an introvert. And then my therapist is like, "Oh yeah, the mask," because I've had to mask for so long that okay, it's new and it's frightening and it just kills me when my dad says, "Well, it's time to put on your big girl panties and get out there and start doing." And I'm just like, "I don't want big girl panties. I don't
Okay.
want to move on. I want to just sit here and cry." But
Okay.
my entire life, everyone has seen me as the oldest, the type A. You have to do, you have to perform.
Sure.
Like I had to take care of my siblings and I took care of my husband and like my kids. And now I take care of my dad. And so that idea is on me from other people. And I have this requirement to perform and
Right.
do. And the first person I let down inevitably is myself, always. Like
Yeah.
I don't ever feel like I've actually achieved the goal.
Oh, so do you think you have a pretty deep fear of failure then, and then start? That's why sometimes starting
Oh,
over is a little bit
absolutely.
okay.
And failure when I was a kid was not an option. Like,
Oh wow.
oh, you can't have bad grades. You can't do like, no. And as an adult, my dad's like, I used to tell you stuff to like just to see if you would actually do it.
Wow.
What?
That's,
That's messed up,
oh wow. That's something else.
dude. See if you would do it. And I was like,
Wow.
this is why I go to that's why I go to therapy, Dad. And he's like, I know. I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
But I'm not because like you're good at it.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think. Yeah.
Thanks, I think. Hmm. Well, then it sounds to me
You know,
like
I
what
don't I don't think most people think about that.
yeah, it sounds to me like a lot of when you first read that and you told me you could talk about that for days. I think we both could agree that we could both talk about that for days. But it sounds to me like there's a lot of that identity piece kind of hit you hard. As like when
Oh,
you when you're faced with starting over, you really get hit with, wow, I'm starting over from something that was a very key part of my identity, and now I'm going to have to change something. That's yeah, it's kind of like it hits your identity pretty hard.
yeah. And everybody has these expectations
Yeah,
because you've always performed,
sure.
right? And you know, you're just a doer. Oh, well, you're a type A. You'll figure it out. You'll do it. I don't want to figure it out. But
Yeah,
you don't have a lot of, we don't, our society in many ways does not like the idea of failure and starting over, like marriages and parenting. Like,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
even like I could talk about this subject in the idea of parenting as well, like having to start over. Like, I got to a point with my kids where I just was like, I'm gonna turn into my mother if I don't immediately. Like,
Which, well, so which I assume then is something that, from your perspective, is a bad thing. Like turning, like I would love to turn into my dad as a dad, but it doesn't sound like that's a an option really for you.
I really think that that is the way for a lot of people. They're like, if I could be more like my dad, yeah. kind and compassionate and like,
Yeah.
well, except for that whole, I just did things to see if you
Yeah,
would
I
do
was
it.
gonna say compassion, huh? I don't
Yeah.
know.
But he was like, well, I think for my dad, this part was that he knew like I could, whereas my siblings, he never challenged them that way. And they really struggle. And so my identity with my grandparents and my family and my friends has always been like, let's just go do it. Like, go out into the, like, figure it out. Go on that walk, go on that trip. Let's just plan it and get it done and do it. Like, figure it out. And when you're, 40 and you've failed out of law school and you're kind of like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right. And everybody has this assumption that you'll figure it out because you have to. And then,
Yeah.
so it wasn't that I didn't want to be a teacher. I'd spent so many years being in the law and I'd always wanted to be a teacher. So, okay, I go back and I start learning these things and how to do it and my presence in the classroom. What is that like? And now my identity is, well, you're a teacher.
Right.
And it's like, is that really what I am? And there are a lot of days where I'm just like, I just need one person to understand what I'm saying to validate my existence as a teacher. My
Uh,
identity hinges on, I got to find that one person every day. And, some days I come through and other days I don't. And
yeah.
I think that we don't, we put a lot of pressure on kids, even in high school. Like, okay, what do you
Mhm.
want to college to be? Like, and I'm like, no, you're going to go to college. And I tell all of my students, like, you're going to go to college and you're going to figure out, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And
Well, and
don't
then they're gonna have
wrap.
to, and then yeah, they're gonna be stuck in that having to figure something out and start over themselves. They had this plan, they had this trajectory, and oh geez, now what? And now they're gonna face the same issues that we both have dealt with in the past. I think when I went to school, I think I probably changed majors 6 or 7 times before I finally got my education. I mean, I just could not nail it down, and I every single time I thought I was in there, and I take a few classes, and I'm like, nope, I don't like this at all. And then yeah,
I always loved history and science. And so I have almost as many credits in science as I do history, but I just have a history degree and then I have the master's in education. And,
right,
I got some other pieces of paper that mean nothing in my profession now. That's the other thing. You get into this profession and you have this previous experience, and they're like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything here.
nice.
Like, wait,
Yikes.
no. And I'm like, no, wait. And my school district put out this whole thing this last year. Oh, we're about customer service and who our
Wow.
customers are. And I was
Wow.
just like, is this for real?
A
Like, we have to
Chick-fil-A
use our,
approach to
do we,
education.
do we need to borrow Allie's customer service voice when we talk to the
Probably.
children in the classroom? Because that's not going to
Probably.
happen. Like,
No, that would seem inappropriate to me. I don't think that's
I,
a good idea.
yeah, I don't, well, I'm probably hugely inappropriate most of the time. So there's that. But history always meant something to me. I don't know if it's because of like my upbringing, my kids, my
Yeah.
dad. I don't know. It just
Yeah.
like speaks to me. But becoming a teacher was a struggle because I had
Yeah.
to figure out, first you have to figure out how do you do it, because you and 30 some odd other people in the room and you're the voice of authority.
Right.
And the interim principal, the interim prisoner, the interim principal that
Right.
sought me
Nice
out
slip.
was like, he was like, you really have a presence in a room. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, your personality's pretty big. You fill up the room,
Yeah.
which means their personalities can't, and you dominate and you control the room. And I was like, huh, I think so. And he's like, you're a little person, but also you have this huge like voice and you
Yeah.
speak to them with authority that most people don't speak to them in. And I was like, I just use my mom voice. Like, I would not let my children behave like this. And I don't know why these people's
Oh,
parents are letting them behave.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, they're
sometimes
not wrong. They're not wrong. You do have a big personality. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this particular topic and see what your thoughts were on it. So, um, I don't want to linger on it too long. I don't want to. I think we've talked a lot. Had a good conversation about the insight itself. What advice, I guess, would you, if you were talking to maybe one of your students or somebody that really trusted you, if they had to like start over and they came to you and said, "Oh man, I don't know where to go. I don't know which direction to go." What questions would you ask them, or what kind of advice you think you'd give them?
I think the most important thing is they need to have faith, not just in themselves, but like I really do. Me personally, like praying and things like that. I'm just like,
Mhm.
yeah, God, what do you do? What are you doing here with me? But also faith in themselves that it's okay to that you're not like the Robert Frost poem, you know, a road was laid out before me and two
Right,
paths.
right.
It's more like climbing a tree. And which limb do you, are you going to go on that limb? Oh, you're going to hang out over there for a little while? All right, you're going to go higher. What are you going to achieve? Like, how do you grow?
Hmm.
And that you can't grow without being uncomfortable. And I think that a lot of people are afraid of that. Like, they see failure, especially in marriages, as
Yeah,
this, you know, this destruction of their personality. But in
sure.
a lot of ways, it's you can't grow and be, you know, an affirming partner with anyone if you're not willing to challenge them to
Yeah,
the next level. So you have to ask the uncomfortable questions and you have to be willing to sit with people in their struggle and say, you know, you don't have to do it right now, but you have to at some point you have to choose to do something.
right.
And it's not the end all be all because most of us, especially females, when you talk about like how many times our hormones change on us and like the outward expression socially of that, and that it's okay to become something new,
Yeah.
and that sometimes the label people put on us is the wrong definition, and
Okay.
and only you like individually can decide like this is the totality of me.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody ever completely shares the totality of themselves until they've been with themselves for a while. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes you get a new partner or you get a new position and it like really some like you're saying rocks your identity and you can sit with it and become and question it and reflect on it and really think about like how is this going to make me a better person. And I think that I tell kids at school the most that I don't care if you don't understand the history. What I care is that you know how to be an analytical thinker. And
Right.
so if you can be an analytical thinker and an upstanding citizen, you can prevent an identity from being put on you. Like you can
Okay.
truly just be like,
Yeah.
I don't I don't need those labels. I am that I am.
Sure.
That's
Yeah. I think so. I couldn't agree more. I think that you hit the nail on the head with not only the identity piece and not succumbing to that. It might make the fear a little bit less of starting over when you don't anchor that identity and fear together. If you
yeah.
unanchor it, I guess. And something else you said that I mean I've heard it before. I love it. Is you can't grow in comfort, right? Growth only happens in discomfort, right? So I couldn't agree more. I think if you're comfortable, you're not necessarily growing a whole lot, and that some it's not always bad. I mean, it's not always a bad thing. You don't always have to be growing. I don't think, but I do think that when it's time to start over from scratch, yeah, you're gonna have to start growing, and you're gonna be uncomfortable in doing so, I think, for a while. So I think I absolutely agree with you on that too, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think a challenge that a lot of my students have is that they've struggled with social media and things and the influence
Mhm.
of the outside, and that most of them don't know how to be themselves. And so
Oh, okay.
identity is a very challenging thing for them because they expect society to label them with an identity instead of the
Oh,
identity
okay.
coming from themselves.
Wow.
So the ones that I think a lot of kids, the ones that challenge it, they're not they're not uncomfortable in different scenarios and they're capable of um, meeting people where they're at, especially some of my juniors and
Good.
seniors, where as they're transitioning, they're really like, I understand what you mean about like being able to write something or to convey something well with someone, not just because you're trying to maintain a relationship, like whether it's a mentor or a business partner or things like that, but also that you're trying to let people like, and this is probably a poor example, but it's really hard in politics for people to have relationships with people who are not in their own political paradigm.
Oh,
And
sure.
that hurts my feelings because my entire life I grew up like I just want to know what everybody thinks and I want to be able to have a discussion with them about it and like that feeds my drive.
Yeah.
But then they get so angry about it and
Yeah.
they're like, why? That's not your identity. Like you're not the president of the United States.
Oh,
Like
I
it's
think so.
okay.
I actually think, yeah, I think you're hitting something else too. Is that there are times when, and I've seen it happen to me. It's happened to me where I had to actually start over, or start anew my own thought process toward my own political leanings. Like I was very liberal growing up, and I've switched over a little bit. I kind of lean a little bit more right nowadays. But I think that's a tough thing for people to do nowadays is to go down a path of their own, just thinking in political beliefs, go down that path and then get some dissonance in their head and accept that, wait a minute,
Why
I'm
do I
getting new
believe what I believe?
I'm well, not only, yeah, absolutely, and or I'm getting new information now, and that really doesn't make sense with what I've been told over here. And then it's like, geez, that's so roped into what I've believed for so long, and now I'm afraid to, like, what am I going to lose if I put away that belief that I had for so long and then start listening to something over here that actually might make a little bit more sense. I might believe a little bit more firmer in. But now, you could lose friends, you could lose family, you could lose all kinds of stuff by doing that. So there's a lot of fear in that too, and then almost also I would think in a lot of well, specifically to this situation, does make you start over, because if you lose your friends because you go from one maybe just political leaning to another, all your friends, maybe some of your family might just say to heck with it. So now you're starting over there too. So that's a big fear, I would think.
Right? And your political identity is not necessarily the totality of who you are.
Absolutely.
And I've been a libertarian as long as I've been able to vote, and people don't understand that. They're like, well, why would you like it's a two-party system? And I'm like, no, it's not. But because you believe that, here we
Right.
are.
Yeah.
And, you know, people like especially a lot of young people right now, they really want revolution and they really want change. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's already there. All you have to do is
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
do that.
But there's fear there, right? There's a big fear of what they might lose as a result of making that change, and yeah, kind of falling in
And
line with what we were talking about with their identities.
yeah. And it makes people shun other people
Yeah.
and it makes them like unaccepting. And you're like, but the whole point is like that's supposed to be the beauty of it, right? Is that
Yeah.
it's accepting of all the things and like and then they're like, well, you're just you and then they bring religion into it. And it's like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Stop
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
we are both adults and we are both logical and analytical thinking people. And I'm not rage baiting you and I'm not using emotion. I'm just telling you this is the
Yeah.
facts as I know them. And like,
Right.
so it's very hard. Um, it was interesting at the 50th birthday party because it was like the dynamic of the women that I put together. And it
Yeah.
was like, and my friend Jamie was like, I love that your friends can have a conversation with each other and not hate each other afterwards because of their politics. And I was like,
There you go.
you really have to groom that in people and
Yeah.
make it, like you're saying, make it part of your identity that like the acceptance,
Right.
the grace, the forgiveness, but also the openness to have those very hard discussions and to be
Yeah.
willing to say, you know what, you can believe that and I can believe it, and we can still go to Italy and have coffee.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So, I mean, we hit a lot of points, to kind of put a bow on it. Like you talked about the how much starting over is going to impact your identity, and you kind of have to question that a little bit. Growing in that discomfort is kind of the only way. Um, Otherwise, you're just going to kind of be stuck where you're at. And good luck starting over there. And then the last thing about your friends, you just said the word and it wasn't accepting. Was it accepting? You said the word accepting of
Yeah,
others.
yeah, you
Um,
have to be accepting of others, but you also
yeah,
have grace and intention.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. To make sure that when you do start over, you've got a support system there with you. And pushing people away, that ain't the way. So yeah. I appreciate you talking to me this evening. It was fun. It was a
sorry I
good
kept you up
time.
so late.
Oh, I know, right? Gosh, not so late next time. But I do appreciate you talking to me. We're going to do this again, I assure you.